Hare Krishna devotees, please have Hare Krishna Kirtan for 5 minutes. There is going to be some noise, and after it passes, I will unmute myself. Till then, please continue with Kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Mataji, you can continue.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Mataji, anyone else can continue. Hare
Krishna, Mataji. Can I tell?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Someone else can continue, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Solunga, Mataji.
Hare Krishna devotees. Yeah, now the noise has passed. Let us start our session now. A warm welcome to all devotees for this session of Nectar of Instruction. We are on Shloka number 1. We will start from where we left off last week. So let us first chant the Mangala Sharanam prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम् हरे कृष्ण. Yes, devotees, so we can start, any one of you, from where we stopped last time. Did we come to Vachovegam? Where did we end last week?
We were reading Vachovegam verse, Prabhuji.
Okay. Now, in that verse, we were doing somewhere in the purports. How far we had covered. We had done the preface. We had started the shloka. I think the preliminary part. Did we read about that frog which invites the snake to come and devour it? Did we cover that? Vachovegam. Who has the book?
So, Prabhuji.
I have the book, Prabhu, but if
Yeah.
I'm not wrong, I think in page number 13, as far as the urges of the genitals are concerned, I think from that paragraph we have to read.
Okay, that means all the 6 we are almost finishing. Okay. Yeah, you can read from there, Mataji.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. As far as the urges of the genitals are concerned, there are two proper and improper or legal and illicit sex. When a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and regulations of the Shastras and use his genitals for begetting nice children. That is legal and religious. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of the genitals and he may not use any restraint. One indulges
Just starting.
in illicit sex life as defined by the Shastras, either by thinking, planning, talking about, or actually having sexual intercourse, or by satisfying the genitals by artificial means, he is caught in the clutches of Maya. These instructions apply not only to the householders, but also to Tyagis or those who are in the renounced order of life. In his book Prema Vivarta, chapter 7, Sri Jagadananda Pandita says, Vairagi bai gramya kathana shunibe khane, gramya vartana kahibe yabe milibe ane. Swapne o na kara bai stri sambhashana, grihe stri chadiya bai ashiya ch vana. Yadi chaha pranaya rakite gaurangera sane chota haridasera katha thake yena mane. Bala na kaibe ar bala na paribe hridayete radha krishne sarvada sevibe. Shall I read the next paragraph also, Prabhu?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
My dear brother, you are in the renounced order of life and should not listen to talk about ordinary worldly things, nor should you talk about worldly things when you meet with others. Do not think of women even in dreams. You have accepted the renounced order of life with the vow that forbids you to associate with women. If you wish to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you must always remember the incident of Chota Haridasa and how he was rejected by the Lord. Do not eat luxurious dishes or dress in the fine garments, but always remain humble and serve their lordships, Sri Sri Radha Krishna, in your heart of hearts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You can continue, Mataji.
The conclusion is that one who can control these 6 items, speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals, is to be called a Swami or Goswami. Swami means master and Goswami means master of the go or senses. When one accepts the renounced order of life, he automatically assumes the title of Swami. This does not mean that he is the master of his family, community, or society. He must be master of his senses. Unless one is master of his senses, he should not be called Goswami, but Godasa, servant of the senses. Following in the footsteps of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, all the Swamis and Goswamis should fully engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As opposed to this, the Godasas engage in the service of the senses or in the service of the material world. They have no other engagement. Prahalada Maharaja has further described the Godasa as Adanta Go, which refers to one whose senses are not controlled. And Adanta Go cannot become a servant of Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahalada 7.5.30, Prahalada Maharaja has said, Matirna Krishne Parataha Svatova Mito Bipadyeta Grahavritanam Adanta Gobir Vishatam Tamishram Punaha Punas Charvita Charvananam. For those who have decided to continue their existence in this material world for the gratification of their senses, there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious, not by personal endeavor, by instruction from others, or by joint consensus. They are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called chewing the truth. Hare Krishna. End of the chapter, Mata Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. So, we were talking about 6 kinds of urges. Can anyone say what are these 6 urges? This first shloka. What are the 6 urges that are so difficult to control?
Senses.
Yes?
Our senses, Prabhu.
No, 6 Vegas are listed specifically. 6 Vega. Vega means urge. So what are the 6 urges?
The speech, mind,
Yes.
tongue, belly, genitals,
Yes.
anger.
Anger. So can you say the Sanskrit equivalent for all this? We saw in the shloka.
Vachaha is speech. Manasa is
Vacho Vegam, you can say like that. Vacho
Vacho Vegam is speech. Manasa,
Vegam.
mind. Krodha
Manasa
Vegam
Vegam.
is
Yes.
Manasa
Krodha
Vegam
Vegam is urge of
anger.
anger. Yes.
Anger. Jihva Vegam is
That is
urge of the tongue.
tongue.
Udara Upastha Vegam is
Udara
of the
Vegam is urge of the belly.
belly. Upastha Vegam
Upastha
is urge
Vegam
of
is
the
urge of
genitals.
the genitals. So these are the 6 Vegas to which a conditioned soul is subjected to. We are all conditioned souls. We know how we fell down from the spiritual world. By turning away from Krishna, we were attracted by Maya. Maya is the external energy of Krishna. The spiritual world is the internal energy of Krishna. When we say internal energy of Krishna, it is within Krishna. So the spiritual world is essentially Krishna. So it never undergoes any transformation. Spiritual world remains as it is. There is no present tense, past tense, future tense in the spiritual world. That means spiritual world is not subjected to the transformations of time. People living in spiritual world are not subjected to the infirmities we have in this world. Birth, old age, disease, and death. They don't exist in the spiritual world. And that spiritual world is the expansion of the internal energy of Krishna. And Krishna chooses to live within this internal energy eternally. along with such devotees who have taken shelter of the internal energy of Krishna. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadi mavyayam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, those who have taken shelter of the internal energy, that's said to be Daivim Prakriti. It's called Daivi Prakriti, Krishna's own internal energy. That is the spiritual world. But those souls belong to the marginal energy, Tatastha Shakti. Some of these souls want to enjoy independently from Krishna. That means they turned their faces away from Krishna. I don't want Krishna, a kind of aversion to Krishna. Instantly, they developed a desire to enjoy matter. Then material energy captures those souls and gives them body. Because the soul is spiritual, it doesn't have a material body. If you want to enjoy matter, you should be given a material body. And you should identify yourself with this material body. So through a complex process of devolution, we all know evolution. Yeah, but here is the process of devolution. First devolution, then evolution. So how the whole thing devolves is greatly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, but we won't go into so much detail. Let us simply understand that the souls which turned away from Krishna with an intent to enjoy independently, to be the master, to be the proprietor, to be the enjoyer, those souls developed a desire. Immediately, they turned away from Krishna. They became forgetful of Krishna by the mercy of the Lord. Because if you remember Krishna, you cannot try to enjoy independently because you know Krishna is the master of everything. So unless you forget this fact, you cannot try to enjoy matter. So Krishna mercifully makes all those souls to forget that, oh, Krishna is the ultimate, supreme, absolute truth. You forget it. Then immediately, Krishna's own energy called external energy, Bahiranga Shakti, Mahamaya, she captures the souls and she conditions them with three modes, Sattva, Raja, Tamo. And she gives them suitable bodies made of 5 material gross elements and 3 material subtle elements. She gives them a body. And there they start enjoying. This is called devolution. Paradise Lost. You know, Milton wrote a book called Paradise Lost. They're like that. From paradise, we have all fallen down. Headlong, you know, upside down, we have come from there. And then we try to enjoy this material world. We become frustrated. Every effort is frustrated. When we become thoroughly frustrated, we are likely to ask questions, you know, Artha, Arthartu, Jigyasu, Jnani, Cha Bhagarsha. 4 types of people, Chaturvida Bhajante Mam. 4 types of people worship me. They are the people who are in suffering, who want redemption from suffering, and those who want to enjoy. They also come to me, Krishna says. Intelligent people. I mean, they are called fortunate people. See, everyone who is suffering doesn't come to Krishna. Everyone is trying to enjoy doesn't come to Krishna. Everyone who is inquisitive doesn't come to Krishna. Out of these people, some of them come to Krishna and they are called fortunate people. So that was explained. How do you become free from this bondage of material nature? How does a conditioned soul become free? It requires the association of a devotee. Then only it can come to Krishna consciousness and gradually evolve. So here, this Upadesha Amrita, nectar of instruction, is a compilation of only 11 shlokas done by Rupa Goswami. We already discussed how Rupa Goswami is Acharya for all Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So these 11 shlokas contain the essence of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Just imagine how powerful and intelligent and empowered a person should be to compress the entire ocean-like philosophy into merely 11 4-line shlokas. And we are so fortunate to be reading that book, thanks to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who translated and wrote extensive purports. Still, it is quite a small book from which you can know everything. So this first shloka taught us that who is a spiritual master? Because We are all told Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. You have to approach a spiritual master to learn spiritual truths. Spiritual truths descend from the spiritual world through an unbroken chain of Guru Sishya Parampara. And we have to connect to that Parampara to get this knowledge. So that means you have to find a spiritual master who is coming in this line and who also has certain qualities. Those qualities are listed in shloka number 1. The 6 Vegas, we just now listed them out. We have already discussed them in detail. We have to overcome the 6 urges. Such a person is called a Goswami. Godasa is a servant of the Go. Go means senses. So a servant of the senses is called Godasa. Such a person is not suited to be a spiritual master. Today, we will not name any of them. Many of the so-called spiritual masters are slaves of their senses. They want to enjoy sense gratification, or they want to enjoy name, power, position, wealth, yes, adulation. They want all these things. Such spiritual masters are rejected. Only those who have conquered the 6 urges are fit to become spiritual masters for the whole world. Prithivimsa Sishya. So then, after reading Prabhupada's purports, we started reading the purports of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And that is in a book called Anuvritti Bhashya. That also we have covered more than half of it in the last week. So only the residual portion we have to discuss in this week. I hope all of you have understood how important it is for us to control these 6 things. These 6 are summarized by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati as 3 only. What are the 3? Urges of speech, mind and body. Urges arising from speech, mind and body. Manasa Krodha Veham, that is mind. Speech, Vacho Vegam. Then body, Udara Upastha Vegam. Jihva, Udara Upastha. Last 3 come from the body. First one comes from speech. Second and third comes from mind. So like that he has classified the 3. And he says, anyone victimized by these urges, the whole life becomes inauspicious. They cannot turn towards God. They cannot turn towards spiritual solutions for their problems. But unless you turn towards a spiritual solution, your problems of material life cannot be solved. Rather, the bondage will become tighter, 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 and it will choke you. Already it is choking none of us. So that is called inauspicious, right? If a person is taken to the river and with his head he is pushed inside, he is struggling to get out, but you keep pushing, pushing, pushing. That is the way we are struggling in this material world because we are controlled by our senses, by these 6 urges. It is like being pushed under water without being allowed to come out to take a whiff of fresh air. So Prabhupada says, to come out of this, what you should do? Become a tapasvi. Do tapasya. What is tapasya? Voluntarily accepting limitations. Voluntarily controlling the senses. I have enough money, I can go to the restaurant and eat, but no, I will eat only prasad. My tongue says I want to eat onion, garlic, drink coffee, tea, alcohol, but I say no, I will only consume what is permitted. I will follow strictly the regulative principles. That is called tapasya. Not that the beggar in the street has not eaten the whole day and that day is Ekadashi and he has observed tapasya. It's not tapasya. Tapasya means voluntary acceptance of austerity. I have money, still I will live a simple life. Simple living, high thinking. Prabhupada says plain living and high thinking. That's what is required. So that is tapasya. By doing this tapasya, you can escape the victimization of Mahamaya. And then there is a discussion, we have already done that. Vacho Vegam means a person who is not a devotee of Krishna, whatever he speaks is Vacho Vegam. Useless talk. Whereas anyone who speaks only Krishna Katha is actually observing Mauna. Mauna is supposed to be the highest virtue. And if a person who will only talk about Krishna, he is actually considered a Mauni Baba. He He's not speaking out of the urge of his tongue to speak. Rather, he's simply sharing the knowledge of Krishna consciousness to others. Right? So then there was a discussion about the books. What kind of books are fit to read? The books written by materialistic people, books written by impersonal Mayavadis, they are all fit for crows. It's called a place of pilgrimage for crow. It may be a beautiful literature. Just imagine what all books we have read from our school days, college days. We started, James Hadley Chase was a great favorite at one point of time. Now I even forget the other names. So many authors, Ernest Conan Doyle, right? Something like that. And so many authors we used to read. Some were adventurous writers, some were romantic writers, some were historic writers, some were fiction writers, some were science fiction writers. So many books we have read. And they are all places of pilgrimage for crow. So we have all been crow, because only crows are there in a place of pilgrimage for crows. And where do crows go for pilgrimage? To the dustbin, to the refuse can. That is where they all go. They all crowd there, kaka, and they're all found. Wherever there is a huge refuse bin, that's where they are all collecting. So when we read such books for sense gratification, for sense titillation, just reading those books, very romantic books, very adventurous books, fiction, all this nonsense, that is for crows. Even if it is very beautifully written, very beautifully composed, no flaws in grammar, mistakes, nothing, very beautiful, poetically written, but still it is waste. So let us give up all that reading. Unfortunately, many people, after retirement, they want to live the old life. I have seen my own batchmates who worked with me in office. They all, after retirement, they want to talk about a cricket match that was played 30 years ago, a movie that was released 50 years ago, a film song that was famous, golden oldies. And they want to share clippings from old films and say, hey, you watch this, how amazing. And they want to get into get-togethers, our old college mates, people are now 60 plus. And they are meeting schoolmates, college mates, having a nice party, drinking, eating, singing, dancing. Such fun. They think that is fun. That is place of pilgrimage for crows. Come on, grow up. This time. They say it's a second innings. At the retirement function, they say, now your second innings is starting. Come on, do the same things again. That is what is going on in this world. But fortunate are those who have come to Krishna consciousness. Now we will play our innings back home, after going back home to Godhead. We don't want to play in this game where there is birth, old age, disease, death, and all kinds of adhyatmic, adidaivic, adibodhic miseries. We don't want to live here. So we have given up our crow mentality. We are willing to join with the swans. And what do the swans do? They go to the beautiful ponds and lakes filled with nicely blooming lotus flowers, filled with nectar and pollens. And the swans go and play among those lotuses. What are these? They are the books which are written by pure devotees glorifying the Supreme Lord. His name, form, pastimes, his paraphernalia about his devotees, these amazing books, even if they are filled with mistakes. Yasmin prati slokam abhaddavadyapi. Even if every shloka is filled with mistakes. Namani anantasya yasho angritani yat shrunvanti gayanti grananti sadavaha. The swan-like devotees will still appreciate such literature, which is glorifying the Supreme Lord. Even if it is not written in very great style, very ordinary, very ordinary pedestrian style, very ordinary, but still they will appreciate that. So we have to transform from crow to swan. That is what is recommended. We should use our speech only in the service of Krishna, and these are the things that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has given. Mind has two qualities. One, it becomes easily attached to sense gratification. It includes Mayavad and materialism and impersonalism, unnecessary attachment. And then also anger comes from frustration. These two things are the qualities of the mind. That is, Attachment and anger, lust and anger, attachment and aversion. These are the qualities. And how to become free from that? By becoming purely Krishna conscious, absorbing our mind in activities of Krishna consciousness. Then there were discussions about 6 kinds of tastes in food to which people become very much attached. Some people want to eat food, dead bodies of animals, a crematorium, they want to put dead bodies into their body. Our body is also dead body. They want to put other dead bodies into this body by killing animals in slaughterhouses and adding mountains of sin for themselves and also hurting the body also. Vegetarian food is not a very healthy option. So some people eat that. Some people eat vegetarian food like milk, fruits, food grains and all those things. But whatever it may be, but it is all sense gratification. If we use all these things for pleasing our tongue. Even vegetarian food, it should be offered to the Lord and it should be taken as prasadam. We should honor the prasadam, not simply taste and enjoy. We should honor the prasadam. And we should eat only at the scheduled time and appropriate quantity. Even prasadam, we should not eat in the mood of sense gratification. That way, our senses become purified by Krishna's mercy. Prasadam. Prasadam means mercy. And that way, once the tongue is controlled, belly, genitals are on a same straight line. Anyone who controls the tongue, eating, they can control the belly and genitals also. So everything, all 3 powerful urges are controlled simply by eating Mahaprasada of the Lord. Okay. Then some verses of Jagadananda Pandita are quoted. Jagadananda Pandita was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, very, very intimate associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is an incarnation of Satyabhama. Satyabhama in the spiritual Vaikuntha, Queen of the Lord. So Jagadananda Pandita wrote some very nice 2-liner songs, and in that he says he's addressing a Vairagi. And there he says, take care, you have accepted a life of renunciation. Don't be attracted to fine food and fine clothing. Don't be absorbed in hearing Gramya Katha, means material, mundane discussions. Nor you speak them, nor you listen them. Don't try to eat very opulent food. Eat very simple food and live away from the crowd of these Vishayis, materialistic people. Don't listen to their talk. You always remember Radha Krishna and serve their lotus feet. Like that, Jagadananda Pandita's poems are quoted. Very nice poems and very good meaning. We have read that. And ultimately, about the use of genitals, there is a legal way and an illegal way. Legal way means one should get married, and then also one should use genitals only to produce Krishna conscious children. You bring them up nicely, you send them to a Gurukul where they will learn really what is Krishna consciousness, and they will grow up into useful citizens for the society by distributing Krishna consciousness, and they themselves will not come back again. The responsibility of parents is to ensure that the children will not take rebirth again in this world. Once again, I'm saying the duty of parents, the duty of teachers, the duty of guru, the duty of king, all these people are the duties of a master. All of them, the duty is to ensure that their dependents don't come back to this material world. That's all. What is the duty of a chief minister? What is the duty of a prime minister or president? What is the duty of a MLA or a MP or a councillor? To ensure that those people who voted for them will not come back to this material world again. They should all become nice devotees and go back home, back to God. Similarly, all of us who have children, our duty is to make sure that our children will never become children of another set of parents again in this material. So you see, the whole thing changes. We are thinking the duty of my government is to give me sense gratification. I want them to put more money into my pocket, and I want them to give me more opportunities for sense gratification. Completely wrong understanding. Rather, we should give up our dependence on them We should become dependent on Krishna and devotees and to the scriptures and to the acharyas, and we should perfect our life and go back home, back to God. So Prahlad Maharaj says, those who are attached so much to sense gratification, they are doomed to suffer forever in this material. For them, liberation is out of question. What they will continue to do? Puna puna charvita charvananam. They will continue to chew what has been already chewed by them and by their ancestors. And they have all failed to find real abiding happiness. So those who look for sense gratification till the end of their life, Prahlad Maharaj says, they are simply trying to chew the chewed. No sweetness will come. What has been already chewed and spat out, how you will expect to get more sweetness from that? So my father, my father's father, my father's father's father, everybody has tried to chew this and they did not succeed. And I am picking up the same thing and I am also chewing. So this is the foolishness of material existence. So we should all be intelligent to overcome these urges, and then you become fit to be spiritual master for the whole world. As far as we are concerned, we should be careful whom we accept as guru and worship and take instructions from them. That is a very important for us. Now, one of you can read shloka number 2. 6 things again. See, all 666. First 4 shlokas are 666. We have seen 6 urges. Now we are going to see 6 things that will destroy bhakti. Who will read, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I teach?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha laulyamcha shadhir bhaktir vinashyati. Should I read the synonyms, Prabhuji?
Yeah, you can read. Yes, it's a good idea.
Atyahara, overeating or too much collecting. Prayasa, over endeavoring. Cha, and prajalpa, idle talking. Niyama, rules and regulations. Agraha, too much attachment to, or agraha, too much neglect of. Janasanga, association with worldly minded persons. Cha, and laulyam, ardent longing or greed. Cha, and shadhi, by these 6. Bhakti, devotion service. Vinashyati is destroyed. Translation: one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. Purport: human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has 3 primary energies or potencies. The first is called Antaranga Shakti, or the internal potency. The second is called Tatastha Shakti, or the marginal potency. The third is called Bahiranga Shakti, or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they are situated between the internal and external potencies. Being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Jivatmas, or atomic living entities, must remain under the control of either the internal or external potency. When they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. This is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.13. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaah bhajanti ananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. The word Mahatma refers to those who are broad-minded, not cripple-minded. Cripple-minded persons, always engaged in satisfying their senses, sometimes expand their activities in order to do good for others through some ism like nationalism, humanitarianism, or altruism. They may reject personal sense gratification for the sense gratification of others, like the members of their family, community, or society, either national or international. Actually, all this is extended sense gratification from personal to communal to social. This may all be very good from the material point of view, but such activities have no spiritual value. The basis of such activity is sense gratification, either personal or extended. Only when a person gratifies the senses of the Supreme Lord can he be called a Mahatma or broad-minded person. In the above quoted verse from Bhagavad Gita, the words Daivim Prakritim refer to the control of the internal potency or pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This pleasure potency is manifested as Srimati Radharani or her expansion Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. When the individual Jiva souls are under the control of the internal energy, their only engagement is the satisfaction of Krishna or Vishnu. This is the position of a Mahatma. If one is not a Mahatma, he is a Duratma or a cripple-minded person. Such mentally crippled Duratmas are put under the control of the Lord's external potency, Mahamaya. Indeed, all living entities within this material world are under the control of Mahamaya, whose business is to subject them to the influence of threefold miseries, Adi Daivika Klesha, sufferings caused by the demigods, such as droughts, earthquakes, and storms, Adi Bhautika Klesha, sufferings caused by other living entities like insects or enemies, and Adhyatmika Klesha, sufferings caused by one's own body and mind, such as mental and physical infirmities. Daiva Bhutatma Hetavaha, the conditioned souls subjected to these three miseries by the control of the external energy suffer various difficulties. The main problem confronting the conditioned souls is the repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. In the material world, one has to work for the maintenance of the body and soul.
Yeah, I think we can stop there, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare
So
Krishna.
let us discuss this. Hare Krishna. So I have highlighted some points from these purports only. I hope you can all see it on the screen. Can you see?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes.
Yes,
We can
Prabhu.
see, Prabhuji.
Okay. So I have just highlighted some points from what Mataji has just now read. And does anyone want a little elaboration of these points, or is it all clear? So first sentence, you see, Prabhupada says, human life is meant for plain living and high thinking. High thinking, not his thinking, high thinking. Do you all agree?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Are you able to agree? Prabhupada says in one place that if I go and tell people that you reduce your unnecessary necessities, don't go on acquiring things all around you, and try to live a simple life, they say we are being asked to go back to the dark ages, and we are being asked to live a life of penury with nothing to enjoy in our life. Prabhupada says they talk like that. Do you feel like that? If you don't feel, then you can, how can you explain to those people?
Yes, Prabhuji. Majority of people would not accept that, Prabhuji, when we tell them about
Why they don't accept, and how we can make them accept?
They are all in material enjoyment, Prabhuji.
Right?
They want only material enjoyment.
Right? So how you can tell them that material enjoyment is not a good idea?
The only way is by coming to Krishna consciousness.
Why?
Coming under the Guru.
But why? Life is very good, no? So much of sense gratification. Actually, Kali Yuga is offering so many ways of sense, mind-boggling ways. Now, virtual reality, you can simply enter into anywhere you want. Just put one box. I don't know, maybe it must have even progressed better than that. You enter into a different, you can go to the beach sitting in your room, you can go to the mountains, you can go to the forest. So much enjoyment is available. Very nice.
That is all temporary, Prabhu.
All those enjoyments are temporary.
But what is wrong with temporary? I can go from one enjoyment to another.
It only entangles us.
Ultimately, ultimately, we have to leave all this and go, Prabhu. That we can make them understand. All the material, if they go on accumulating, we can tell them we have to leave. We have to leave everything and finally and go back.
But they will say at the end of death, everything is finished. So
yes,
death
Prabhu.
will come for everyone. So let me enjoy while I am alive.
But the
At
soul
least
is.
let me enjoy
but
here, they will tell Prabhu.
Yeah.
No, Prabhuji.
Ah.
The main thing is the soul. The atom of Krishna is indestructible. So we have to see that we continue to be indestructible. By resorting to only material enjoyment, the soul will not be having the mercy of Lord.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We get
Krishna,
more
but-
entangled into the material nature. So we'll be born again and again here, and that's only indirectly suffering. Dukkalayam Ashaswatam. So we think we are enjoying, but it is actually eternity. We are going to be bonded here, and we are going to be, the soul is going to take birth in the material world only. So that is not true happiness.
But sense gratification is nice, is it not?
So, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
But we don't get satisfied.
So we can enjoy more. We have to acquire more money. We have to have good health, and we can go on enjoying as long as we are around. How to convince people?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, is it not that we can tell them that you are doing this, probably start controlling this with you have to have a controlled material sense enjoyment, so that you gradually understand what's the difference between a body and the soul. Then you gradually understand why you are here. Then you start questioning. So for that you have to regulate your life. Is it not the right way to start telling them? Look, sense enjoyment.
It all depends person to person. You know, if someone has an inclination to accept the scriptures, if someone says, all right, if scripture is descending knowledge, I accept that. If it has come from great rishis in the past who were living only in the forest and living a completely pure life, and God revealed these things in their heart, and so through them things are coming down. God doesn't come down directly, but he gives this knowledge to pure souls. The purer the soul becomes, the more revelation God gives. See, if some Bible came somewhere, Quran came somewhere, and other scriptures came somewhere, it all depends on the purity of the people. So Varnashrama system in India was so wonderful that Brahmanas had very high qualifications. So through the Brahmanas, all these things would come down. And Brahmana would pass it on to Kshatriya, Kshatriya will pass it on to Vaishya and Shudra. Everybody benefited. So that kind of a Varnashrama system created a pure society in India in the past, thousands of millions of years ago. This Varnashrama system is going on. Krishna spoke about Varnashrama system to the sun god. So it is there eternally. So that system from India, it was implemented throughout the world. Till today, you know, when they are digging for some building, I saw somewhere in Italy, somewhere in Russia, somewhere in South America, they dig and come out with Hindu temples. It is happening till today. Sanskrit was there everywhere. Even in Russia, there are many Sanskrit words. In German, there are Sanskrit words. They have rivers named after Sanskrit gods in Russia. I have heard this from people coming from the respective countries. So India was the center and it implemented Varnashrama everywhere. And the whole human society was nicely progressing. But after the Mahabharata war, Kali Yuga entered. And Kali Yuga entered, what happened? The kings became independent. Various kingdoms across the globe became independent. And after that, they lost touch with what is the purpose of governance, what is the purpose of Varnashrama. They lost all these things. And then sense gratification took over. If you don't have Varnashrama means set of rules and regulations, regulative principles, that is Varnashrama. A Brahmana has certain rules, Kshatriya has rules, Vaishya has rules, Shudra has rules. They must all follow these rules, and within these rules only they are allowed some sense gratification. Following the rules is priority, otherwise you will be punished. So the Varnashrama system was implemented like that. So, but when kings became free, slowly Varnashrama disappeared in other countries. But at least in India, this is the source of everything, the source of scriptures, the source of Varnashrama. Here it continued for a long time. And gradually now that is also disappearing. So because of that, we have to make people understand that, look, don't think the world is progressing, world is degrading by rejecting these scriptures which have come down from the supreme truth. So if people are willing to listen, he can directly speak to them scripture. He can give them quote Bhagavad Gita, chapter, shloka. He can quote Bhagavatam, he can quote Ishopanishad, he can quote Nectar of Instruction like that, and people will happily take it. But if people don't take it, then we have to at least elevate them one step. Like, I don't know, many of you who have been attending my earlier classes would have heard this marshmallow experiment I used to talk about very often in earlier classes. Is there anyone here who remembers and can, in few sentences, say what is that? Marshmallow experiment.
Prabhuji, may I try?
Yeah.
A group of young students were given some gifts like chocolate or something, and they were asked to sit in that room with a condition that they will not be able to eat those chocolates for certain period of time. And if those who are not eating till the last time, they will get some reward or some more gifts, something like that. So it was observed that most of those ate them early, and those who did not eat till the last moment, later on after 20 years, some feedback was taken, and it was understood that those who did not eat the chocolates till the end, they had prospered in their life in many ways.
Yes. And those who succumbed to temptation of enjoying immediately, they had very average lives. Even today, you can go to internet and search for marshmallow experiment. It is a valid experiment, not done by spiritual people. It was done by psychologists. Ordinary material psychologists did this experiment for a different purpose. But somehow, 20 years later, when they looked at the same experiment group, they found two sets of people. Majority of the people could not control. They all took the one chocolate. But the small percentage of 20% or so who waited for half an hour to collect a handful of chocolates. You want to eat now, one chocolate. You want to eat after half an hour, handful of chocolate. But for half an hour, you should wait. So those children who waited, they had such a good life. See, such a simple way of predicting the future of children. A young person, you want to predict their future, so simple. But today, nobody talks about this experiment, but it's still there. It is there in the internet. You can see, you can Google it and see. After the results were published, all the parents were rushing to the psychologist. Please tell us how to cultivate this quality in our children, because that's a foolproof way to ensure that their future is successful. It is nothing spiritual, you see. It's nothing spiritual. Simply, anyone who can postpone sense gratification, right? If you can postpone sense gratification, little children from 5 years to 10 or 12 years old, they were the experimental group. They were told, wait, some VIP is coming, they are held up. So all these chocolates are for you only. But the VIP will come and he will distribute. But in the meantime, if anyone cannot wait, you can take one chocolate. But then no more for you. No more for you. Those marshmallow jelly-filled sweets, very colorful looking jelly-filled sweets, sugar dipped like that. Almost all the children could not wait. Small percentage waited and they had a successful life. Please look at this. Anyone who has the ability to restrain their senses, just for the sake of getting superior happiness, same sense happiness after some time, even they are successful in life. I am not talking anything spiritual to you. Are you getting my point? Does anybody have any clarity required on this experiment? What is the finding? Do you find it interesting? Anyone who cannot understand this? Hare Krishna. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
I am not telling about Hare Krishna. I am not telling about Krishna consciousness, scriptures, Vedas, Upanishads. You don't believe, you don't believe. I don't care. But this one thing is a Stanford University experiment. You know, Stanford is a highly regarded university till today. Stanford in the USA. That university conducted this experiment. And they proved that children who could wait half an hour so that they can collect a handful of chocolates instead of just one, their life was successful. How successful? Amazing details are there. You just go and see. They had better health. They had better family life. Their marriages were stable. They were less prone to fall sick. When they did fall sick, they recovered fast. They were economically well off. They were educationally seen college. In America, someone seeing college is a rarity. Please understand. In those days also, they did college studies. All this because they could resist sense gratification. One, that is observation one. What is observation two? Does anybody know? I have shared all this with you before. But I'm just trying to drill it in so that you will not forget. One thing is the ability to resist sense gratification. Even by postponing it. Resisting by postponing. Even that is so powerful in life. Please understand the power of brahmacharya. What is brahmacharya? The ability to resist temptation. Forever. But we are not even talking forever. Just resisting for a little while. Imagine. We are not talking spirituality here. Please, I am repeating and repeating so that it will go deep into your heart. Prabhupada has transformed your life. Please understand. Whether you had this quality before or not, I did not have this quality. But today I have. I have grown. The parents of children, they went to Stanford University researchers. Please tell us how to cultivate this quality in our children. They could not tell. They were trying to understand whether it is an inborn quality or whether it can be cultivated. Please tell me, now you are in ISKCON, whether it is an inborn quality or can it be cultivated? Please respond.
It can be cultivated, Prabhu.
Can be cultivated.
Cultivate.
Good if it's inborn.
Is it
Can be,
yeah?
can be cultivated with proper guidance, Prabhuji.
Yes. Do you think it is also inborn?
Extent, yes, Prabhuji. Because the environment or conditions under which you live, suppose the parents are spiritual minded, the children also will try to follow that.
From
Is there any
previous
other
life,
explanation? Sorry?
if previous life, if he had done some
Thank you.
devotional
Thank
service,
you,
that would have
Mataji.
carried us.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is how we connect with the help of our scriptures. See, they say the children who participated in the experiment, nobody had been specially trained. They all had ordinary backgrounds and upbringing. But if some children were able to demonstrate this quality, it has come from past lives, karmic reaction. They have this karmic advantage over others. You say everyone is equal? Do you think everyone is equal? People claim no, all are equal. Do you think all are equal?
No, Prabhuji. Like 5 fingers.
We all look equal. That's all. We are not equal. We have all come with different baggages from past lives. All of us have made, somebody made less progress, somebody made more progress, somebody made no progress. We are all here in this world. So Krishna very compassionately created a Varnashrama system. Those who made maximum progress, he put them in Brahmana category. They have the maximum ability to resist temptation. How much? Can you tell me how much a Brahmana can resist temptation in the Varnashrama system?
Like Haridas Thakur?
No, I'm talking Varnashrama. Let us not come to spirituality. We are talking about simple Varnashrama system. A Brahmana in a Varnashrama system. How much ability he has to resist temptation? Brahmana cannot eat meat. Brahmana cannot drink liquor. Brahmana cannot even eat onion and garlic. And Brahmana has to follow so many other rules of living. He has to live a simple life. He cannot acquire wealth. He cannot live in ostentation. He has to live in a small village or forest. He has to simply contemplate God. Patan, Patan, Yajan, Yajan, Dana, Pratigraha. That's all. He has to read scriptures. He has to teach scriptures. He has to perform yajna. He has to perform yajna for others. He has to beg and he has to gift. That's all. Simple life. He cannot save, store for the future. So Brahmana accepts voluntarily a plain living for the whole lifetime. Not that for 1 year you practice this and after that I will get you married to a very rich woman and then you can enjoy. No. Brahmana means a lifetime of simple living. You understand? So how this Brahmana category was formed? By classifying people based on how they have progressed in the past life. Acharyas knew that. The teachers knew that. Gurus knew that. So can you imagine assuming that such a categorization existed and such Brahmanas were there today? And if we made them advisors to all the top CEOs of all corporate houses, and if we made advisors to all governments, state governments, central governments, local bodies, if there were always Brahmanas to guide them, and the leaders were all Kshatriya, imagine what a world we will have. Why are we unable to accept that India had a glorious past? Simply by the fact that there was a Varnashrama system. You should have no doubt in accepting, yes, India was an amazing country. Today, we cannot imagine a life like that in your America and all those happiest countries like Finland. You cannot expect a life like that because there was no crime. There was no want. There was complete satisfaction. And people were all having belief in God. They believed in karma. They believed in reincarnation. They believed that sin will be punished. Virtue will be rewarded. Imagine. What kind of a country will that be? Do you think they will have big law books? Do you think big law books were required? In a land where everybody believed in God and people were led by Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, ideal. Do you think huge law books were needed? And do you need so many advocates, so many judges, so much judiciary, so much loss of time? For one judgment, people wait 20 years. Just imagine, in every aspect of life, India was glorious. Not simply that India was wealthy, or not simply that India was spiritual, not that simply India had no crimes. In every aspect of life, India was most prosperous, which you cannot attain today with a materialistic civilization. I am sorry, today's session is over. But please understand, spirituality and materialism are not so far apart. Okay, I said one thing was ability to postpone sense gratification. I said there is a second thing. Does anybody know what is the second thing?
Faith in the person, Prabhuji.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mataji. How do you know?
You only said, Prabhuji.
But you remembered. That is really great. I am so satisfied. My energy was well spent.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
This is the second dimension, even more important than the first one. First one was ability to postpone sense gratification. But the second and more invisible foundation of this ability, they had the ability to wait, but from where they got the ability? Faith. What is that faith in this case? Can anyone say what is that faith?
Faith that they will get if they wait.
Yeah. Tell me, Mataji, Sumi Mataji.
Faith that they will get if they wait.
That's it. Supposing they did not have the faith, what they would have done?
They would have had second thoughts about waiting or postponing the
Correct.
sense
Now,
gratification.
that means they would have become the second category. There would have been no first category, correct? See, I am given a choice, one chocolate now, handful of chocolates after half an hour. Supposing nobody had faith in the chocolate that comes after half an hour, bird in hand worth two in the bush, correct? This is a proverb. So why I will wait for half an hour when it is doubtful? Supposing I don't believe the experimenter. No, the experimenter is making announcement. After half an hour you will get. How do I believe the experimenter that it will happen? They may say after half an hour, sorry, PAP is not coming, held up, so maybe we'll postpone this. Something happen. At least one I will eat now. Yes? So faith is such an important component. If the children had faith, they waited. At least most of them. Somebody having faith sometimes may not be able to wait. Can you distinguish this? Why somebody having faith is not able to wait? Can you say something? We are going slowly from material to spiritual dimension. See,
Pull of the senses is too great.
amazing. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now you bring it to our case. We are all devotees. We are all trying to go back home, back to Godhead. We have faith in Prabhupada, in Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the spiritual world, in the soul, in reincarnation, in karma. We have understood a whole lot of science and we believe it, but still we are struggling with sense gratification, right? Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
So
Prabhuji.
you see, there is one dimension called Shraddha, faith. And there is another dimension called Swabhava, which is my cultivated nature, my acquired nature in so many lifetimes. So many lifetimes. Right? My past actions, my past karma has created vasanas. Because of that vasanas, I exhibit certain behavior. So what Prabhupada has done, he has sowed the Shraddha into our heart. By, oh my God, by what struggles he has undergone to put this little seed of faith into our hearts. Going at the age of 70 to Americas, all night translating books, not minding his illness, old age, nothing. Repeated failures in his efforts. He continued because he had faith that this is what I have to contribute for posterity. And because of Prabhupada being a role model, please understand, when we talk about one is ability to postpone sense gratification, second is faith. They are not two things. Faith is the foundation on which the ability to postpone sense gratification is built. Faith is below the ground, foundation, you don't see it. But the building is what you see, ability to postpone sense gratification, belief in a future, faith in a future, faith in the third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If I do good, I will collect a good reward. If I do wrong, I will have to suffer. Just that faith foundation that was strongly laid in a varnashramic society. Please understand. If anybody asks you to explain why India was successful, you tell them. So that Shraddha and Swabhava. So Shraddha has been given by Prabhupada by acting so purely. You just read Prabhupada Leelamrita. Your faith will multiply 1,000,000 times. See, these experimenters, if they were role models in whom all the children trusted, success rate would have been higher. The other point to take home is, if we can somehow build faith in our children, we are preparing them for a successful future. And that faith, the best society to build that faith is our Varnashrama society. Unfortunately, we have destroyed it. So today, the only hope is Krishna consciousness. You teach Krishna consciousness. You teach scripture. You teach the life of Srila Prabhupada. You teach the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. People are lacking role models. Your children have such role models. Film stars, sports stars, cheaters. They are their role models. Cheaters who got rich. Right? They are the role models. Somehow or the other, they became famous. They became rich. They became beautiful. They became powerful. By any means, they have become the role models for our children. What kind of future will they have? So spirituality is the only way we can have a prosperous and happy future society. Unfortunately, some religions have totally distorted the thing. But anyway, that maybe we will discuss in some other slide. Thank you very much for your patience. Maybe 1 or 2 questions we will take and then wind up. We will continue for the next shloka from next week. But does it all make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Or
Prabhu.
am I connecting a bald head with the knee? I am tying a rope. If it makes sense, I am happy.
It makes sense.
Prabhuji, could you please elaborate a little more about Swabhava? Swabhava.
Yeah, Swabhava is our vasana. See, you do one action. You know, there is a nice saying that you sow an action, reap a habit. You sow a habit, reap a character. You sow a character and reap a destiny, something like that. So it starts with action and ends with destiny. So every action we do, it creates a propensity in us. In our mind, it creates an impression. Why do we do some action? Because we want to enjoy the fruit of that action. We think if I do this, I will get this experience. If I drink liquor, I will feel high for some time, like that. So that action is performed and you got some happiness out of it. Then the seed, the impression is sown. That's called bija. That means you are likely to repeat that action a second time and a third time and a fourth time. More often you repeat, more strongly the impression goes. Not for one lifetime, Prabhuji. That impression goes with the subtle body, life after life. Until the subtle body is destroyed, it remains. That is called Swabhava. Shraddha, Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. Brahmanda Brahmite Konu Bhagyavan Jiva. I am talking about the highest bij. In this experiment, some faith in some experimenter, but we are talking about the highest faith in a supreme absolute truth, who is a person, and we are all his part and parcels. And it is our business to go back home, back to Godhead, and enjoy eternally with him amazing pastimes of ecstatic, love-filled interactions. That is our destination. We believe that. That is the bija, that is the faith. In the meantime, our Swabhava is creating temptations for us. So if you act with Shraddha, following, Prabhupada says, regulative principles of freedom, accept the regulative principles of Prabhupada. That is like postponing sense gratification. And you follow the process of bhakti, abhideya. Then what happens? Your Swabhava transforms. Chetor darpanam arjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. If you chant the holy names, it destroys the cycle of rebirth. How? How cycle of rebirth is destroyed? Because it destroys your Swabhava. Your Swabhava is replaced by Shraddha. There is only Shraddha, there is no Swabhava. You become a complete follower of your spiritual master. So, is it okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, very clear, very clear.
Thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Dandot pranams,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Dhanavad Pranam Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Prabhuji.
much.
Dandot pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Everything makes sense, if you discuss, if you churn, everything makes sense.